Chapter 44. At the gates of the threshold. The Rusted Hammer Tavern was loud that night, like most nights in Tharzul. Torches fixed to the stone walls cast an uneven orange glow over tables, crowded with tankards, grease-stained plates, and calloused hands striking wood in time with deep laughter. The air was thick with wood smoke, dark ale, roasted meat, and sweat. A heavy, familiar scent that spoke of long days in the forges and the mines, of honest labor and ancient fatigue. In one corner, a group of broad-shouldered dwarves occupied a long table. Their beards were braided with metal beads, and their laughter rang louder than the rest. At the center of them, as though he had always belonged there, sat Dren. He raised his tankard with easy familiarity, roaring with laughter while one of the dwarves, a broken nose and a thunderous voice, recounted an increasingly exaggerated tale. "And then the fool tried to run," the dwarf declared, gesturing wildly with both hands. "But he still had the barrel stuck on his head, rolled down the hill like a poorly thrown stone." The table erupted in laughter. Dren pounded his fist against the wood, feigning a choke on his ale. "That reminds me of an old companion in Valdara," he exclaimed. "Tried to steal a horse, and ended up being stolen by the horse instead. Dragged him through 3 villages before it grew bored." Tankards clashed, toasts, more laughter. Then the tavern door opened with a long, scraping creak. A gust of cold air swept inside, dimming the laughter for a moment. Liana stepped in, wrapped in her blue cloak, dark hair tied back, her face weary but composed. Some dwarves looked at her with curiosity. Others spared her little attention before returning to their stories. She found Dren immediately. She moved between the tables with calm steps. When she drew close enough, Dren looked up, and his expression shifted at once. He set down his tankard, rose to his feet, and opened his arms as though he had just discovered something unexpected, yet welcome. "Liana," he called, "come sit. These rogues know how to celebrate a night properly, and they have ale that would make an elf weep." One of the dwarves shoved an empty chair toward her. "Sit, lass," he said. "We will tell you tales that would make your winds pale." Liana smiled politely, inclining her head. "Thank you for the invitation," she replied, "but I only came to speak with you a moment." Dren's lightness faded without noise. No dramatic gesture, no sharp word. He simply stopped smiling. He nodded, bid the group farewell with a slap against the table, and stood. "I will return," he told them. "Do not drink it all without me." They stepped outside together. The mountain night air wrapped around them at once. The tavern's noise fell away, replaced by the whistle of wind between stone towers and a clear sky strewn with stars. Liana did not circle the matter. "Everything is ready," she said. "We depart tomorrow." Dren lifted his gaze toward the heavens, drawing in a slow breath. "So it is true," he murmured. "I wish you luck, and that you return." He looked at her. "Or at least you." She held his gaze. "You can still come." Dren let out a short, weary laugh. "Though you are very beautiful," he said, "and I would do much for a beautiful woman. A suicidal venture into the bowels of a mountain is not something I undertake out of charity." Liana tilted her head, studying him with a mixture of understanding and resolve. "I know money is not the only thing that matters to you," she replied, "even if you try to give that impression." Dren shook his head slowly. "It is not an effort," he answered. "It is simply who I am." A brief silence settled between them. Then, "Farewell," Liana said at last. "I hope to see you again." She turned and walked away, her cloak stirring softly in the wind. Dren watched until she disappeared into the shadows of the city. From the tavern, voices called to him, urging him back to the celebration. But for a few moments he did not hear them, only the wind, and the emptiness Liana had left behind. The room Alden and Kale shared was small but functional. 2 narrow beds separated by a worn wooden table. An oil lamp cast a warm glow that softened the bare stone walls. The floor was scattered with open packs, straps, weapons, and provisions laid out with careful order. Alden was folding a cloak when he noticed Kale had been sitting too long at the edge of his bed, sharpening his sword with mechanical movements. "Is something wrong?" Alden asked. Kyle looked up, hesitated. "There is something I did not tell you." Alden set the cloak aside and sat across from him, Say it. You can tell me anything. Kel drew in a deep breath. In Lumara's tower, I felt something strange, as though someone was calling me, not with words. He frowned. It was a sensation, a pressure, as though something knew I was there. Alden studied him carefully. It has never happened before, Cal continued. Not even in the worst moments. But that statue, that tower, left me with a feeling that does not fade. I am surprised you take it so seriously, Alden admitted. You usually do not. That is why it troubles me, Cal replied. It was as if something recognized me. Alden remained silent for several seconds. When we return from the abyss, he said at last, we can discover whether it means anything. Cal met his gaze directly. If we return. Silence settled between them, heavy. Alden did not argue. He simply nodded and resumed his preparations. Far from there, Riven and Relum rode at the head of their army. The night was cold. Moonlight gleamed across the armor, making thousands of steel plates shimmer. The path narrowed between mountains that rose like ancient walls. At last, Relum reined in his mount. There! In the distance, the gates of Cara Dûm rose in imposing silence. Carved into the mountain itself, the outer settlement lay asleep. It is time, Relum said, to see how strong the legendary gates that protect Tharzul truly are. Riven did not answer. His gaze was fixed farther ahead, as though the mountain itself were watching him in return. Dawn arrived beneath a pale sun. Before the gates of the abyss, the group gathered. Alden with Luthera at his side, Kyle, Doran, Liana, and Sarah, King Durin, hammer in hand, Corim, Grumar, Borin, Selenia, with Ether perched upon her arm. The threshold rose before them, immense, ancient, waiting. The gates did not seem shut, they seemed expectant.